two-button shot. From here up. Here up.
That's right about that, yeah.
Call it a two-button.
So start out just introducing yourself and talk about the model a little bit.
My name is Jason Calacanis. I am a serial entrepreneur and angel investor. And my company is Mahalo.com, and we make educational apps.
So talk a little bit, like you did on stage, talk a little bit about how mobile is different, that it's more of a lean in, cozy up device as opposed to other mediums.
Sure. Well, the last 20 years of the internet has been about the lean forward experience, having a keyboard, having a mouse, and leaning in, and really absorbing yourself into that computer and blocking out the world. And that was quite a change from the lean back experience of just sitting there with your remote control and watching TV. But now we have a new sort of experience, which is what I call curl up. And curl up is, I'm on the couch, I'm not leaning forward, I'm not leaning back, I'm just sort of very naturally consuming a television show or reading a newspaper or a magazine or playing a game. And it's much more intimate and it's much more natural computing. And I think that's why Steve Jobs was so focused on it and why the consumption of content on these devices is a magnitude more than on your desktop. It's because on a stamina basis, you can really consume much more in this format, and it's much more social. So if we were on the couch together, or we were at dinner, or we were at a cafe, and I take out my laptop, it's sort of like I'm disengaging with you and now I'm going into this. Whereas if I take out a laptop, if I take out a tablet, and I say, oh, I'm taking out my tablet and I'm reading the New York Times and I'm showing you what's on the New York Times, and I flip it over like this and it automatically orients itself, or we're playing a game together, I put it down and we play a game versus each other. This is a device that actually brings people together, as opposed to a laptop, which when you flip it open, it's over, now I can't see you. The price points, though, on tablets have been prohibitive. You had $5.99, $6.99, $4.99 entry prices. That's really way too high for consumers here in the United States, and certainly more for people outside the United States, because, well, you've already spent your $600 on your iPhone or $500 on your Android phone. So these have been artificially stunted. Even though it's the fastest adoption of a device ever, it's been artificially stunted by price. Now that the iPad has come down to $3.99 in its third year of existence, and soon they're going to come out with a 7-inch iPad, and that should be $2.99 or $3.99, and the Kindle Fire and the Google Nexus are now $199. These devices are sold by manufacturers, Google and Amazon, who don't care about making a profit. They'll sell them at a loss or a break even. And I predict, as Microsoft comes out with their tablet, perhaps a Facebook tablet is not out of the question, or a Facebook tablet in combination with another vendor. These could become $99 devices in a year or two. When they become $99 devices, already at $199, then they become impulse purchases. Certainly when they get under 100. And when that happens, we go from 100 million of these sold a year to 1 billion. And that's about to happen. When that happens, people will never leave home without their mobile device or their tablet, which means, really quick interactions on your phone are fine for a map, but you're not going to read on the web or watch a movie on your iPhone. Some people do. On a plane in a pinch, you will. But really, for doing email or surfing the web or watching a movie or television show, playing a game, this footprint is delightful. The 7-inch footprint is a revolution. And even the large footprint of the iPad is great, the 9-inch, 10-inch. And so this changes everything. This is going to be the primary, this is the PCD, primary consumption device.
Great, cool. So talk a little bit about sort of app versus mobile web, and obviously your business is based around apps. And when you're talking to companies and they're trying to figure out, do I buy an existing app? Do I create an app for myself?
Yep.
What sort of advice do you give?
If you've got a business and you're managing it for the short term, and you don't care about the status of the business in 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you can ignore this. But if you care about where your business is going to be and the market share it has in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you need to stop everything you're doing and conceptualize how people interact with your product or service through the mobile web, through your apps on tablets and iPhones, and you have to think mobile first, because when your consumers switch and they get these devices, they don't interact with your brand on their desktop anymore. They generally, if you're an Amazon consumer and you get the Amazon app, you're going to find, and I found this myself, I probably am already doing half of my Amazon shopping on my mobile device and the other half on the web. I was 100% web last year. Now I'm half. Next year, I might be 25% on the web, because when I'm in my bathroom and I run out of, the moisturizing cream I like from Jack Black, I simply turned it around, scanned the barcode, saw the best price on Amazon Prime, clicked a button, and put it on repeat purchase to get it every 3 months. And I'm never going to buy moisturizing cream and sunblock again. For the rest of my life, every 3 months that little bottle is going to come. And that means Target or Walmart or whoever else I might have bought that from has just lost that purchase for life, or for a decade, or for 5 years, or whatever it's going to be, because I have it on auto renew, because subscribe and save, you save an extra 10%. So that's the power of this. Once people find a great mobile solution, I think it's going to be very hard to displace them and get them back on your brand and your platform. You could lose everything.
Cool.
But I don't mean to scare anybody. But you seriously could lose everything. You could literally lose your entire consumer. And I think people have seen that with Amazon completely displacing folks.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So just last question, just talk a little bit about what, how nice it is to see this many people gathering just to talk about mobile, and is this your first time at this event? How's it been for you so far? Yeah,
great turnout, and the quality of the people here is exceptional. So I was pretty impressed that at 9 a.m. there were 500 or 600 people here, and it was standing room only. And when I looked at the badges, it was a high quality person after another. So really good job on bringing out the best people. So it makes it worthwhile for me to make the trip. I was hoping to meet some people within marketing having the problems I'm talking about, so that my company Mahalo could partner with them to make these apps. So that's really what we're trying to do, is find brands. We have a partnership with Wiley, who does the For Dummies series, and we're helping them move their books into apps. We're looking for those kind of partnerships where people they need help in video and mobile and content to get out there. And so an event like this is perfect for us. If we had to describe an event that would help us grow our business, it would be this one. So thanks for putting it on. And thanks for the invite.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jason.
My pleasure.
Good job. Thanks a lot. Good trash that. You want to take that?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so just start out. So I'll just throw questions your way and just talk as much as you want or as little as you want.
Okay, that sounds great.
Start out by just saying your name and where you work.
Okay. I'm Hillary Apple, and I work at Starcom.
Okay, cool. And actually, look, I forgot to say, you can look
Look at you.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I had no idea where.
Yeah. Tell me, what are some of the signs that you've seen of mobile's growth this past year that just tell you that it's really a real thing that's happening?
Sure. I mean, with the clients that I work on right now, is just seeing their actual level of engagement within mobile and wanting to see it within their media mix. And then when they actually see the results from their media campaigns, it's something that they know is an area of opportunity to target their consumers.
Great. And are you, do you have trouble convincing some clients to try mobile, who are still thinking it's not ready yet, or people aren't engaging yet with it?
I've been fortunate with the clients that I've worked on, have actually been very forward thinking with mobile, and they know that's where their audience base is. Just based on the results they've seen and also the types of consumers they're going after, those are the people who are using their devices for their research.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about targeting and what clients are looking for in terms of audience targeting and how you steer them.
Sure. So for some of the clients that I work on currently right now, they know that their target audience, how they use their devices just based on the research, and understand that where to find these consumers. So they know mobile is the platform where they're going to be. So they've been focusing in on honing in on those consumers, but then layering in different rich behavioral targeting, or the operating systems, or just different location based of where they could find these consumers.
And do you see any big trends or things that you feel like will help mobile take that next step? Are people dying to see geofencing work, or are they dying to see more data used in targeting, or what do you think will help move the industry along even more faster than it's moving now?
I think it's a combination of attribution, understanding how consumers are using the mobile within their research, but then also I think how to find consumers in more of an engaging format. So with the rich media and then also video, I think those are two areas that are going to really grow over the next year.
Great. And come by, Julie. Yeah. And so, just talk a little bit about, is this your first time at a mobile media summit, and how's the event been, and maybe talk a little bit about how it's nice to see this many people here to talk about the future of mobile.
Yeah, it's my first mobile event in Chicago, and it's interesting just seeing different perspectives on mobile, just since it keeps changing on a daily basis.
Great. That's awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All
right,
let's do this.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. And
all right.
Actually, I'm sorry. Look at me.
Look at you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Lisa, can you hear me? Okay. Does this work? Yeah. All right. All right. Good. Hi, I'm Lisa Weinstein. I run global digital data analytics for Starcom MediaVest Group. So responsible for all types of digital and leveraging data and analytics to grow the space for all of our clients around the world.
And what are you seeing from clients nowadays in terms of what they're looking for in mobile? Are they ready to test the waters? Obviously some are, and some are maybe still a little hesitant. How are you guys sort of showing them that it's ready?
Yeah. What I think is interesting is I think most get that they need to be there. I think the ones that are really lean forward don't really know exactly how they're going to activate. They understand the power of the content and experiences across the devices. But what they're doing, which you actually saw not so long ago, 5 or so years ago in digital, is that they're top-down kind of driving platform agreements to push their agenda forward. So literally putting stakes in the ground and saying, I'm going to do an X million deal with Apple, or we're going to spend this much money in mobile, period. I think because from a top-down perspective, then that forces the right thinking and the right conversation across the organization with agencies around the role of mobile from a consumer lens, mobility, but in the organizations, how they then spend dollars. And I think it's interesting. You saw that again in digital early days. No matter what, we are going to allocate X% to digital, and those who are really leaning forward, I think, are doing that in the mobile space today.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about any parallels you see between what it was like, with online. I remember, I sold advertising in online advertising, and people were still, afraid to jump into it, and how mobile is similar to that or not similar to that, and it's somewhat early, but moving faster, I think.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, I think, sure, similar in the sense that it's something new, even more challenging, or equally challenging, I suppose, in kind of getting aggregate levels of data, having consistent measurement, being able to prove out ROI. Those are all kind of similar challenges, but I would say actually even more difficult because of the fragmentation of devices and operating systems. So it's actually difficult, right, to think about mobile activation, to be honest. And I think you have to start to think about not solving for the scale first, but solving for the consumer, the opportunity, the experience, and then activating against maybe the 60% or solving for the 80%. And so that is a big difference, where I feel like from a browser, PC point of view, it was one, consistent operating system, if you will. It's not like you had to have a different experience depending on the hardware someone was using. So, I think that really is the biggest difference that I see in terms of the go-to-market piece. I think it's no different, and we shouldn't make it more different or difficult in terms of the consumer lens, because the consumer doesn't see those differences. They don't think about the fact that they're on, an Android versus, an iPhone, et cetera.
Cool. So, talk a little bit on, is this your first mobile media summit?
It is actually, yeah.
Talk about how the event's been so far, and maybe something about how it's nice to see this many people this excited about mobile.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's from my perspective, the quality of kind of the people in the audience and those that are engaged in this discussion is really exciting. Everything from the sell side to the buy side to clients. I mean, this is clearly a space that that we all recognize as our future, and there's a lot of focus around figuring it out together. So that from my perspective is fantastic. I think it's hugely valuable. I don't know if this is your first time in Chicago. I think it might be. So hopefully my city is hosting you well, and you'll come back. But look, I think it's been a great event. I think that there's everyone all the way across the board in terms of their experience in the space and wanting to drive it, but I think everyone comes with the same intention, which is that there's huge opportunity. A lot of it's unrealized, and how do we come together as a business, as an industry, as marketers, as technologists to solve for that. So yeah,
that's great.
Good, thank you. Appreciate it.
Is it good?
And even if we did make it happen and figure out a technology to make that happen, you're still now talking about Yahoo fighting with Microsoft, fighting with Google, fighting with Apple. So to get that working across all websites and all media channels is a tough bite. Even then you have to take into account like the EU and their privacy laws, and then this whole thing falls apart. So unfortunately right now, until someone does have an answer for that, and I don't know what that answer is, you have to build for the different ecosystems, right? I need to do iOS and work with Apple, because if you work with them, they can provide amazing information about targeting and the results of your campaigns. Same with Google, same with Facebook. And as we continue to develop campaigns right now for the next couple of years, it's got to be kind of channel specific, but with an overall creative, overall message. It's not like we've done a lot of design around, here's the ad on an iOS device, here's the ad on an Android device. If they're rich ads, they are a little different because the users are used to different patterns on those devices. Back buttons are in different places and things look a little differently. So aside from minimal CSS kind of creative changes, the overall campaign's the same, and then the channel changes. But it's definitely for folks in the industry that don't have, I mean, I'm so lucky to be surrounded by like genius technology people all day, that it just becomes ingrained in the way we think. So when somebody says, hey, here's what we want to do, it's not a matter of how would we do that, it's all kind of part of the same conversation. When you don't have that opportunity, it can be a little frightening, I suppose, just because it's moving so fast, and then I look at people making these projections 5 years out, and I'm thinking like, okay, like 5 years ago, if you told me I would have been talking to Mort, our moderator, through a little teeny wafer-thin screen while he sat in New York doing our panel, I wouldn't think it was real, right? So who knows what, the glasses that they're coming out with, integration into cars, other physical spaces, new screen technologies, I mean, all the kind of stuff that I look at on a daily basis of how do we take a marketing message, integrate it with lifestyle and content, and make it part of someone's life that's in context to what they're doing and what they care about, is very exciting, very challenging, but I think where we're headed, so that, the minority port kind of displays and things, I mean, that stuff is, oddly enough, it is happening, right? So electronic billboards that I can gesture to and talk with, airport signage that reacts to me as I walk through the terminal, all of these things are happening, and I think the biggest one, the hidden challenge that we as marketers face is privacy. How do I make it not freaky to the people who I'm trying to market to? And I think that we will overcome that once people start to understand the value that they get out of the technologies that we're employing, versus just thinking that we track you. Because you have that debate all the time. Am I tracking you? I'm not really tracking you. I'm tracking behavior. And understanding behavior so that we can make your experience better. But privacy advocates, there was this hacker conference last week where they were talking about all, even the mundane to them, cookies and things. You will never see privacy advocates stop their quest to stop marketers from understanding more. It's when the consumer is being marketed to embrace the content and the things that it enables, that they say, because personally for me, Google knows everything about me, but Google makes my life better. right? It does. When I search on Google, I get really good results because I pound it and it knows what I'm clicking on, you know? Same with Apple. So I think that I'm not your typical consumer, but as that begins to become more pervasive, consumers will open their eyes and embrace how the technology and things can make their lives better. I mean, we're a consumer society. It doesn't need to be a gross consumer society, but we like stuff and we like things and experiences. And if we can use technology to bring those experiences to people and make their lives better, then everybody wins.
That's awesome. You just answered all of my questions.
I talk a lot.
Yeah, the one last thing I would ask is just say something about the event, you know, how the event's, obviously we're only halfway through it, but how the event's been so far for you. You know, I was just talking to Lisa about this, how it's nice to see this many people focused on trying to make mobile work.
Yeah.
And, so anything you want to say about that?
I think it's the event's great because it, you know, for example, it's not, we've moved from marketing into this hybrid. Like I have too personal probably, my sister-in-law was in PR, she had kids, left the industry, and I came back and she's like, I don't know anything about Twitter. Do I need to do that if I'm going to do PR? And I was like, okay. Everything's changed, and now we're starting to see events like this where we're bringing together people from various disciplines to talk about marketing in a holistic manner, as opposed to just what you would expect, right? Because there's things that everybody has their own unique perspectives. People are developing intellectual capital around how to market. There's a lot of interesting thoughts that are driven from brand innovation teams that you're hearing about, and you can't do that, and you don't have exposure to leadership kind of across all these clients and other agency partners and things until you get into an event together like this, and you can share ideas openly, and it's been able to facilitate that for me personally. I mean, it's been great.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like I told Lisa, I've got your email address. Okay. I'll email you and let you know. So I'll start out by just, you can just introduce yourself and where you work, and then I'll start asking you, I'll just ask you like 2 or 3 questions about mobile.
Okay.
Probably talk a little bit about.
Should I look at you the whole time? Is this going to be that kind of, okay,
yeah.
Cool. All right.
All right, cool. So go ahead and introduce yourself and where you work.
Sure. I'm Kevin Hartbarger. I'm the Midwest Regional Director for Digital at OMD.
Great. So tell us a little bit about what you're seeing. Some of this you talked about on stage, but tell us a little bit of what you're seeing from OMD clients of how they're embracing or not embracing mobile, and what their challenges are for them, and you know, whether you see some acceleration.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, we don't have one client that hasn't come to us and said, help us figure out mobile. We certainly have some that are farther along. You know, McDonald's has kind of embraced mobile and been doing a lot of really interesting things for years. But a lot of our clients just, you know, they know it's something they need to do. They understand, you know, they see the numbers, they understand the consumer behavior, and so they're really starting to come to us saying, okay, like, we need to help us figure this out. And a lot of them, you know, will ask very tactical questions like, should I be building an app for such and such, or, you know, do we need to be running media on, you know, a certain website? And our answer to them is always, you know, we need to think about this from a bigger picture. It's not about having a mobile media plan, it's about having a mobile strategy. And that could be inclusive of a wide variety of things, but we need to actually understand, you know, what you're trying to accomplish from a business standpoint. How can we tie this back to business objectives? So we've developed our in-house expertise to basically be able to answer any kind of question that comes up, so that we don't just have media people. We've got strategic people and development people and creative people all sitting in-house that can help address these questions.
That's great. And so what kinds of questions do you get from McDonald's and other clients about how they can target the right audience in mobile, and maybe how that differs from what they might do online or TV or radio or other mediums?
Yeah, I think there's usually a big assumption that whatever you can do in digital, you can do in mobile. And that's true to a certain extent, but I think it doesn't really, it's not necessarily the right thing to do. Because, and I kind of touched on this earlier, the localized and personalized nature of mobile. What we say to them is think about targeting based on where a consumer is and where they're asking a question. So from a search standpoint, if you're McDonald's and someone is searching for chicken McNuggets, does that consumer want, and when they're in a mobile environment, do they want product information about chicken McNuggets, or do they want to know where to go buy some right now? And that's, trying to help them understand that it's actually the second answer more often than the first answer. And I mean, I think from an audience targeting standpoint, as mobile scales, I think that'll be a bigger and bigger opportunity. There's obviously a lot of data out there that allows us to build audience in a certain way. What I'm really interested in, though, is how we can start mapping that stuff to other channels. So basically being able to do what we do in digital, do what we do in mobile, do what we will be able to do from a connected TV environment, and start to tell a story and start to deliver messages in those different environments that's relevant for that environment, and knowing that we're hitting that same consumer and being able to tell that story as they go through their journey.
That's great, that's great. So one last question, just talk a little bit about how this event has been, and just, for me it's nice to see this many people getting together to try to figure out mobile, because it's obviously something that we all as an industry have to figure out and get right if we're going to help clients deliver the message. So, talk a little bit about how it's been so far. Obviously, it's halfway through the day, but it's been a nice get together of some really smart people like yourself talking about mobile and
I mean, these really should be the best attended of all the different types of events. Certainly more so than a social or a video conference, because it is so. I mean, when there's as many smartphones now as there are people in the U.S., it's just so critical to consumer behavior, to what we do as marketers, that it should be the highest priority, I think, for the people in our business to make sure that they're talking about this stuff, understanding what other people are doing, starting to get some best practice. So it's been great. I mean, the event's really good, and obviously, like, Perrin's very enthusiastic and evangelical, and I think that obviously helps bring people in and get excited about it, and so it's been good. It's been a good experience so far.
Great. That's great.
All right.
We're good. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. So I have your email address.
Yes.
I'll email you and let you know. What we usually do is we edit it and put clips together of you and other speakers talking, but we always run it by you guys to make sure we're not having you say something that you wish you hadn't said or whatever. So I'll email you. And
making it so it sounds like I'm singing. Yeah. Call me maybe.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks a lot.
I good?
Yeah, good. Yeah, so just look to me and go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about your position at Team Detroit.
My name's Eric Roth. I'm the emerging media manager for Mindshare Team Detroit. I do, God, what don't I do? I'm basically responsible for mobile tablet practice, interactive television, and in-game advertising.
So what are you seeing from clients recently in terms of mobile and types of questions that you get about how quickly they should be embracing mobile, whether it's ready for prime time yet versus other mediums, and how are you introducing them to it?
Well, Team Detroit's core client is Ford Motor Company, and the person I work for, Brian Voss, has been doing mobile when I joined for well over 6 years. We are now 8 years into the mobile practice. It's not emerging to Ford. It's not emerging to us. We track and measure every campaign we do. It's normally a portion of just about every campaign we run. And we're using it from both a upper funnel and lower funnel mechanism, and it does very well.
Sorry, good timing.
Good timing.
Talk a little bit about, Ford's been pretty good about embracing, or the auto industry in general has been pretty good about embracing rich media as a way to talk to people through mobile, and really expanding the capabilities of ad creative to talk to people in a better way than just a static manner when you're trying to get a message to a consumer.
Absolutely, and I think that really resonates with Ford. Simply because it's mobile doesn't mean there's not a rich interactive experience attached to it. So from a client perspective, they think if we're just running standard MMA units, we're not necessarily doing our job. You're just buying space on a different screen in a different channel, which isn't very compelling. So I'd say most of the media we run, we try to have front-end engagement through rich media ad units. Obviously, giving something of user, some sort of additional experience to the user is extremely important to Ford and Lincoln.
Yeah, you can go.
And that's one of the guys doing it.
You can go by.
This is one of our guys doing it.
Am I on my Yeah, you can walk by. It's our fault. We don't have something there. So, talk a little bit about, for an auto advertiser, what they look for in terms of targeting the right consumer and how you help them find the right consumer in mobile.
Well, in essence, what they're looking to do is really make mobile a viable channel in terms of what we're doing with our online. So the ability to really drill down and find the audience that we're looking to reach from both a contextual standpoint, which is obviously what we're doing right now, all the way through to behavioral targeting, through retargeting. Obviously the technology is not absolute across the board yet. Standards are being developed to hopefully do that, as well as tracking technologies to make it available. The biggest challenge is really into tablet, which is not as measurable as our mobile media is. The walled garden that is the iPad is really a problem for everybody. Hopefully that changes as Android tablets start to proliferate throughout the market. I think at that point you'll probably see Apple change their ways in terms of the data they'll let people have. So I think they're behaving more to protect their users. They're not really behaving as an advertising company. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Great. You guys can walk through. Walk through, because we're in between. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. All right, so last question. Talk a little bit about the event. This is the first one we've done in Chicago, which is a good thing, I think. I think obviously Chicago has clearly shown that it's ready to embrace, mobile and talk about mobile, and we're all, as an industry, we all have to figure it out together.
Absolutely.
And make sure our clients, get the most out of it. So, anything you want to say about the nice gathering of smart folks we had here today?
I see many faces across the Midwest. Been in to see us over the past year. It seems like a great event. I think anything that proliferates the learning of the channels through the agency environment is a benefit to everybody in the industry as a whole.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, we're good.
Thanks, man.
Eric. So, I'll yourself and where you work, and you can mention P&G or not mention P&G, whatever makes sense.
Great. I'm Erin Semino. I'm the VP Director of Mobile. I cover P&G across all brands at SMG.
You guys can come through. It's all right. Cool. So you can talk about some of the things you talked about on stage, but basically, what are some of the challenges you're finding for big brands within the P&G family in terms of getting them to see that mobile's sort of ready, considering there's still some cross-platform problems, some measurement problems, and stuff like that. And actually, look to me when you're talking, so we can just...
I think honestly, it boils down to data, measurement, policy, privacy, legal. PII is a huge concern for P&G. I probably spend 50% of my time in discussions with policy and privacy. Every Monday I talk to legal for 2 hours. And it's, what's the workaround? Because a lot of stuff that brands want to do in terms of targeting below zip code, mobile couponing, NFC, we're not able to do it. So it's a constant challenge where, one of my jobs in building the foundation, but also how do I grow and push innovation? And then there's also the data collection measurement. It's P&G asks, I get the question all the time, even from larger SMG, you invest millions of dollars in mobile. What do you get in return? I need to see something. And it's, finally, we're the first advertiser for our mobile video upfront. Every single brand has to implement Mendico tracking. So we had a summit in Chicago and a summit in New York, where if you even wanted to be considered for our mobile video upfront, you had to be present and, one, understand what needs to be changed. And so all of our partners have actually altered their technology platform to accept the tagging so we can start building a database to further reinforce to brands the need to invest in mobile.
Cool. And how do you can walk through, it's okay. How do you balance?
Good job.
How do you balance trying to target the right people for them versus not targeting so deeply that you're violating PII?
Yeah. Well, I look out with P&G. They like demo targeting. So luckily their targets are pretty women 18 to 49, because they like to make sure that consistency across platform, and so they don't drive too deep. And so that's what we're trying to do right now is really build out that data portfolio so we can go to each brand and say, here's exactly who your target is for this product line. So Tide Pods, we're currently gathering all the information. And so not only Tide detergent, liquid, for Tide Pods, here's your specific audience, and here's how we can reach them. So it's not something that we're gonna have in the next 12 months, but it is something we're working to have within the next 2 years.
Cool. And what kinds of creative stuff do they look for? I mean, you know, obviously, to try to do stuff beyond just standard static banners.
You know, I'm not gonna get too greedy, because last year all I had were desktop assets, which was so great. But we do everything. Like, I will always have standard banners, just maintaining that always-on consistent presence. Highly engaging rich media that also includes a drive to sale, video. It really is, we don't look at it as what do we need to activate, we look at the objective and we try to understand what a brand's trying to achieve and how they're looking to grow the brand and the category. And then we determine what is that best execution. So Tide Pods wanted to launch big. They knew Tide's already a marketplace leader, but how do you launch a brand new product and make a splash? So there were no mobile dollars. We recognized that TV was the only medium in market, but they also were launching their commercials on the Oscars. So Shazam, here's how we can create that connective experience. It's also one of those highly engaging events where everyone wants to be on their phone, they're trying to talk to friends. So it was Shazam, get a free song that was a remake of an 80s hit, Where the World Goes Pop, or something before my years. You also could get a free sample, consume more content. So we knew they're going to be engaged, they're going to be listening, they're going to have their phone in their hand, so here's the experience that we need to create. And so it's not, we don't think creative first, we think brand first and brand objective first, and then we built out that larger experience, which is why mobile needs to be thought of from the beginning. So mobile can be at the forefront of conversations, not just TV, print. Okay, mobile, can you run some ads? So that's where we try to think objective brand first, then how do we execute? Cool.
All right, last question. Just say something nice about the event today. You know, you know, it was good to see a bunch of smart agency people from Chicago coming out and talking about mobile and caring enough about it to all get together. So
I mean, I love it because I've been living and breathing and driving the mobile marketplace. Now I finally have a room full of people who are there, and a room full of people who are not telling me that mobile's in the future. Mobile was last year and mobile's now, and so it's nice being around all these, I like to call them very smart individuals, because they are ahead of the curve and individuals who are looking to drive marketplace growth. So it's a great event.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, nice. Bottle service.
Yeah, I can only see how this cocktail.
Start out by just introducing yourselves one at a time, obviously, and where you're working.
I'm Megan Pagliuca. I run digital media for Merkle.
Melissa Grady. I'm the Global Director of Analytics, CRM, and E-commerce Marketing.
All right, so like I said, we can edit this any way that matters, so if one of you guys wants to answer a question, you can hello the other one and say, I'm going to take this, or however it works.
Okay.
So I guess first question is just talk a little bit about, how you see mobile growing. What are the biggest signs that mobile advertising is really here, and that's time to embrace it as opposed to dipping your toe in the water?
I think the challenge that we see both with Motorola and with our other clients is still mobile measurement.
Yep.
So we've tried a couple different tactics. We've really seen mobile scale when it's mobile search or mobile display click to call. Also using mobile to drive offline sales for retail clients we've seen to work very well. But until we can get to a point where we can do individual level attribution like we can in a display or in a search environment, it's going to be hard to get it really to the next level, the same level as like our display budgets, for instance.
Yep. I definitely agree with what Megan just said. I think we're looking at doing some tests now. It's because we're not really seeing a lot of people purchasing on devices. So we're actually going to do some tests at data capture, because that will at least give us some information and make sure that we're hitting the right people. So, but measurement is the key. We're looking forward to more measurement in mobile.
Yeah. So how are you guys? What are the most important ways that you're at least looking at targeting people? Given that it's hard to measure what they then do, what are the best ways to at least know that you're reaching the right people?
Well, I mean, one area where we do have a bit of an advantage there is being Motorola, being able to look at who someone's carrier is or what device they're on is actually really helpful. So, right now we have a new phone coming out on Sprint, and then we can go out and say, okay, who's on Sprint? We've also done some testing with accessories. So if you're using a device that's compatible with some of our accessories, we'll say, hey, buy this keyboard, or here's this Bluetooth or something. So that's because of the device level data, that's actually a lot better than we can do in display sometimes. So it's good on that front.
The only thing I'd add, and also the location data, right? Yep. You can target within a certain radius within a store, yep. Right? So there's actually really exciting targeting options in mobile. So if we could just get an improvement tactic on a lot of the measurement items, then yep. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And so what ways are you trying to measure now? Is it sort of the traditional click-through metrics and sometimes brand studies, or are there any ways that you're trying to tie in actual purchases with campaigns?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for mobile, we'll take a couple tactics. We'll really just kind of throw every way we know how to measure at mobile. So we'll do simple baseline or DMA type tests where we'll scale spend in one area. We'll also look on a pixel or a cookie basis, and we know it's not perfect, but at least it gives us something. And then finally, what we've been looking at is what they're calling device detection. So we have a lot of unique identifiers, whether it's browser or OS, within a mobile conversion. So if we can tie that back to the offline conversion, then we can get a little closer. So I do think we're making improvements there, yep. But it's just not as easy as other digital media.
And do you tend to try to tie in the mobile campaigns with the offline campaigns, with other digital campaigns or print campaigns or TV campaigns?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we'll definitely. Yeah, especially for Motorola, where there's a product launch. Right. We have fully integrated campaigns.
Cool. Well, that's it. I'll just ask you two to just say something about. I've been asking people sort of how it's been. It's been nice for me to see, anyways, this many people gather to talk about mobile, and so we're all trying to figure it out. There's still a lack of measurement. We all feel like there's so much potential, especially with location and the information that we do have. But so. Any words you can say about, for me it was nice to see this many people at the event today. Just something about it was great to see this many people talking about mobile, some smart people on stage,
yep.
and so forth.
We are very smart people. No, I think, I agree with you. I think it's really exciting to have so many people here and to see that everyone's having the same problems, because when you have a lot of smart people working on the same problem, then we'll get answers. So I think, definitely the movement's here.
I heard that Kraft was on one of the earlier panels, and she said, I'm not going to move dollars into mobile until I can tie it back to offline sales like you can in TV. So I think especially when you have somebody like Kraft, such a traditional branding advertiser, needing to be able to measure in order to spend, it shows the industry is on the same page. We just have to Melissa's point, kind of crack the code there.
Perfect. That's great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Go. All set? All right, go ahead and introduce yourself. Watch out for this stud walking.
Hi, I'm Ali Rana with Dynamic Logic. I run our emerging media lab, which is focused on creating measurement innovation with social and mobile.
Cool. And just look at me, it's easier.
Oh, okay.
So talk a little bit about, you talked a little bit on the panel that you moderated about this, but talk a little bit about mobile measurement and how you're helping brands find ways to measure, brand impact, so that they're not just focused on click-through rate as the only metric.
Sure. I think we've within Dynamic Logic, we've been doing this for quite some time now, over 12 years, where we realize that there is a lot of folks that are not necessarily clicking on your ad. So what is the impact of folks that are not clicking? So brand impact studies that we offer allow you to measure the overall lift of a campaign on metrics that most insights folks and advertisers trust. Within mobile, there is a bit of a gap in terms of measurement. There's a lot of players in the space. There's a lot of operating systems, and that eventually creates some confusion as far as metrics are concerned. But what we try to bring to the table is some standardization. So the metrics that we use are pretty standardized on mobile and online. At least there's some comparability. You can set some benchmarks. And now we've done about 400 studies or so, and we can trend data over time, and we see some pretty encouraging results. In fact, mobile is much higher than online, which is what we get excited about.
Yeah. So talk a little. I was going to ask you talk a little bit about how results are showing that mobile actually can generate a better brand lift than some of the traditional mediums. And that's surprising to some people.
Yeah, it is surprising. Go ahead.
You go through it.
It is surprising, and I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that, contrary to my panel where we focus a little bit about the whiz-bang, rich media type technologies, we think that there is the current state of mobile creative, which is very much simple banner ads, 1 or 2 frames, that's leading to customers actually or consumers essentially paying attention. So we think that mobile is much better targeted, which is compared to online. You've got folks like PlaceIQ really crushing the market when it comes to how do you utilize passive data and combining that and making media plans out of that. And so it's better targeted, it's new, you have simple creative, simple messaging that allows for targeting leads to relevance, and that essentially that's creating a lot of value for advertisers. So we think that's why it keeps outperforming online. Is it going to continue to do so? We think that there's going to be there's always regression to the norm with this type of data, but over time, there needs to be more innovation in this space.
So talk a little bit about what you're hearing from your clients that has confirmed for you that mobile is here for. You're obviously being asked to do more mobile-related research for clients that are doing more mobile-related advertising. So just anything that sort of supports that the trend is accelerating.
Sure, I think we see mobile as part of most media buys now. The issue essentially becomes is, can I measure my mobile just the way I'm measuring online? And it's essentially becomes, there's a trend, unfortunately, within the space of cheaper measurement, and cheaper is not always better, as we know. We work together, and because of that, there has to be a sacrifice to what you can and can't measure. So while mobile is part of most media plans, folks will say, okay, the mobile is experimental, I'm going to cut a little bit around the mobile measurement, but I want online measurement and I want offline measurement. So the big trend is around, can I create an integrated measurement program, which we offer, which we continue to offer, and which we continue to push in the market. However, it's just, there's just sometimes from a measurement perspective, the dollars simply aren't there. The second trend we see is around, creative optimization based on metrics that you already know or some creative best practices, which I think are going to be a key driver as the mobile creative itself evolves over in the next couple of years. So it's really, really important. As much as you have all this passive data around, what you can do with this data and plan against it, the creative is going to be the one that's going to essentially engage the consumers or not, regardless if you find, Lexus owners in Grand Central, which is great. But as long as I don't have the right creative, I'm not going to be able to engage it. So I think it's to find that right mix, and it's to find the optimal mix of, messaging, creative, different attributes around creative, and we were pretty excited about some of that stuff we're doing in that space.
And finally, just say something about how this has been for you. Obviously, you've been to other media summits, but this was a nice gathering of people in Chicago, really smart folks that we saw, and it's always good to see a big group of people coming out, because we're obviously all in this together trying to figure out the mobile space.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of the Mobile Media Summit, been a supporter ever since the first one, really, spoken at most of these. I feel that Chicago needs things like this. It's as much as New York and San Francisco get their fair share. There's a very large addressable market in Chicago. I think you guys did one in LA, which I thought was brilliant as well. With especially the focus on CPG in this area. It's I wasn't here for the whole day, but from what I saw, there was a very good mix of advertisers, agencies, publishers, and technology companies. Not so much technology companies, but a much more heavier focus on the advertiser agency side of things, which is always good to see.
That's great. Good. good. I think we're good.
All right, good. Done?
All right.
All right.
Thanks, my man.
Thank you.